going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web here on a Monday night as we're only 4 days away from the NFL draft for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the rest of the National Football League. So how do we start off this show? As we'll get it out of the way. The roommates are in the building. So here we go. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, of course, we will be talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, getting your comments. Who would you like to see this team draft at number 19? Looks like they could be trading down. That's the rumor. We've kind of talked about that the last couple weeks here, how I thought that was going to happen, how it could transpire if there are some quarterbacks to drop down, or there's some teams that want to trade up. So we'll definitely get your thoughts on that. Daniel Jeremiah had some thoughts on who he thinks the Bucs may take. And oh, by the way, it's a familiar name, just saying. So we'll get to that in just a moment. At 8:30, we will talk to L. Bushman of the Rays Rewind podcast. And goodness gracious, didn't it start out so well last Monday as we were bragging about how great the Rays were doing against the Red Sox? And then after that, the Red Sox, and of course, you know the story here, as my roommate is a Red Sox fan, they win the series, so that's not good. No.
That's good enough to suck right there.
In convincing fashion, because there was no offense. In fact, 5 out of the 8 games, the Rays were shut out. Not good. And then the New York Yankees take the series 3 out of 4, with the Rays lineup nearly getting no hit. I get it. Saturday they come back after being down 6-2. So right now the Rays 9-13, not the way you would want them to start out. That's for sure.
That's good enough to suck right there.
So we'll talk to L. Bushman of the Rays Rewind podcast. I get it. It's early, but definitely some changes need to be made with this team, and they need to be made fast. Hopefully some guys are not on this team eventually. They don't need to be in the lineup. By the way, what is Kevin Cash doing? Why are we hitting Jenny Jansen? Why are you guys hitting players that are... Why are you allowing Brandon Lau to be on the bench? Like Alex Nunster, one of the webheads on this show, you pointed it out. You know, is the blame on Kevin Cash? I definitely think there is some blame there. Too much computer. Too much of that. Pitching hasn't been bad. The offense is not good. It's not good at all. And then at 9 o'clock, of course, we will talk about your Tampa Bay Lightning as they start their series versus the Florida Panthers with We the Thunder podcast. Shooter and Schooley on with us. Gotta love that. Gotta be excited about this Tampa Bay Lightning team. And as always, we'll take your phone calls. We'll be talking Bucks, Lightning, and Rays tonight, and whatever else you want to talk about. Please, let's not talk about the Orlando Magic. Orlando Magic. Orlando Magic. Oh, no, no, no. You know, for the first half of that game, if you watch basketball, which, by the way, all you LeBron James fans out there, that wasn't a good showing versus Minnesota, but I digress. You Magic fans out there that watch this team, so much potential, right, in that first half. And then the third quarter, the Boston Celtics, which, by the way, the roommate, once again, is a Boston sports fan. So I'm getting it from both sides at this point. Not only Red Sox, but also the Celtics take care of business over the Magic. So we can talk about that. And what in the world was WrestleMania? We could touch upon that. We'll save that for Wednesday night on Turnbuckle Talk. But that main event was absolutely god-awful. Sorry. The first night with Seth Rollins and of course, CM Punk and Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, that lived up to it. I don't know what in the world that was at the end last night. Travis Scott, by the way, Please, somebody get this guy out of the ring. He belongs nowhere near the ring. How disappointing were you as a wrestling fan? We can touch upon those. We're not going to talk all night long about it, but I was disappointed with the main event. The other matches for the second night were good. This is how it really worked out. Like the first night of WrestleMania, the main event saved the first night because the other matches kind of put me to sleep. And then the second night of matches were really good. But once again, the main event was not good at all. So we can touch upon that again. Open phone line 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391 as we're on Instagram Live, LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live right now, X, Twitter, whatever the heck it's called, and on WATB Sports on Facebook. So let's go out to these comments here. Eric says LFG. Let's go out to Christopher Cole. Evening, Peter. How you feeling? Feeling good. Feeling okay. It's still there. The shingles are still itching. They're still bothersome. If you're getting up there in age, please get the vaccination for shingles because it is not pleasant. In fact, I'm kind of reminded of watching this Tampa Bay Rays lineup. It's annoying. And as I believe we lost Wi-Fi there. Gotta love Spectrum. Love that. So with that being said, yes, painful and annoying. That's what it comes down to. So getting better with that. And again, the draft is coming up in 4 days. So we got to be ready. We got to be ready for it. Tim says, good evening, Peter. Good evening to you.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go out to Christopher Cole. Once again, don't be surprised if they pick Walter Nolan, DT, out of Ole Miss. I don't know if I see that. I don't know if I see a defensive tackle. Like everybody wants to go with defensive tackle there, but you could go, to me, you got to go edge rusher. If there's an edge on the board, that's where you go. A lot of people want to go corner. A lot of people want to go safety. I just don't see it. I think, again, there's two positions you could go with. I guess you could go with three if you want to go corner because they certainly want to address that situation. But it just depends on, how this board all shakes out. It depends on if somebody falls in your lap. If they do like Jahad Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama, if they like him, if they like a corner, if there's a team that's calling out there. There's also trade rumors with a specific running back, which, by the way, if you watch this show, we have talked about that also. So we'll get a little bit into that in a little bit here. Let's go out to Christopher Cole. Magic need a star player or something. I mean, they have 2 star players. They need a third guy. They need somebody that's not Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner to step up. Both of those players stepped up. They scored the majority of the points. The problem is nobody else scored anything. That's a problem. So you probably need somebody to step up. You need outside shooting. You need to play defense. You cannot turn over the ball. You have to play good fundamental basketball for 4 quarters. You have to do it. Can't be just at overtime or just the first 2 for the first half when you're up by 1 point and you're feeling good about yourself. I mean, that's how quick the Celtics, who, by the way, are the champions from last year. So, yeah, you've got to take care of business. You got to do a better job of that. If not, you're looking right now down 2-0. So I don't think they need, it's not a star player. They probably need another player at this point. Who is, what is this? Somebody is texting me right now. So let's see what the peanut gallery is saying at this point. Let's see here. All right. Boo to the Rays. Kenny Spandola. I don't know why he said that, but okay. Must not be a Rays fan. I don't know why it's freezing up for some reason, but I guess it's doing that tonight. So let's try something different here. We'll see what happens here. Hopefully it's not freezing up that much. Sue says, hey, Peter, what's going on? How you doing?
Oh, yeah.
And let's go out to Christopher Cole here. Night 1 main card was lackluster, but the main event was epic. And night 2, it was reversed. Agree with that. Absolutely agree. Tell you what we're going to go ahead and do. We'll go ahead and take off one of our destinations. We'll see if that helps the Wi-Fi, because once again, Spectrum, you absolutely stink when it comes to Wi-Fi. All right, so let's go out to this guy who has his Tampa Bay Lightning shirt on right now, talking to me about the Rays off air, as he always does here. One of our longtime co-hosts, one of the friends of the show, of course, does Cup of Ray on Saturday and Sunday mornings. Wants me to get up on Sunday morning. Not going to get up on Sunday morning. By the way, hopefully you guys had a nice little Easter out there. Let's go ahead and go out to this man. Let's go.
Mr.
Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. How's my Wi-Fi at this point? Is it good?
When I first jumped in here, you lagged for a second, but for the last minute or minute and a half, so it's been really good.
All right, well then there you go. That's the reason why we basically just took off one of the destinations, because once again, as we always say here, Spectrum, when it comes to Wi-Fi, they absolutely suck. With that being said. Yes.
We've joined a party here. Now you've got my Spectrum on my end. So actually we're taking the power or strength of two Spectrums and putting it together and still getting a pretty crappy Wi-Fi feed. But no, you sound good, brother.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right, let's go and let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as we're leading it off. We're getting ready for Bushman here about 8:30 to talk about, I don't know what you talk about with this Tampa Bay Rays team, so we can hold those in. In fact, let's get your thoughts, because besides Saturday and besides last Monday, it was pretty awful. I mean, the Red Sox take the series there. You have the Yankees take 3 out of 4. I get it. It's early, but once again, it's kind of like Groundhog Day, isn't it, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy? Once again, pitching, defense are there for the majority of the time, but the offense isn't. Welcome to the evolution.
What? You got 3?
Go ahead.
I lost you. No, you're looking at 3 games now in Arizona. Then you got to follow that up with 3 games at San Diego against the Padres, who by some stroke of luck, they're actually in first place in the NL West, ahead of the Dodgers by half a game. Then you come back for a quick 3-set against the Royals. Then you got next weekend at Yankee Stadium for a 3-set against the Yankees. And you come back and you got the Phillies and the Brewers behind them. Every team we play in the next 3 weeks is either in second or first place in their division. So it's tough. And these bats aren't working. You got this young nucleus. You want to be, and that's the thing though, Pete, with it, when it comes to your race team, you're always like, oh, we got this young nucleus because, well, we get rid of everybody else. But you got this young nucleus. You want to see them gel. They usually somehow do. So let's see if Kevin Cash and the guys have some kind of a magic potion to go on the road now against pretty much the next 5 teams they play, or 5 of the best teams in their divisions they play in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, Arizona starts on Tuesday night. Let's go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Daniel Jeremiah, in care of Daniel Jeremiah. He had a media call on Friday ahead of the NFL draft and gave a pretty clear take. And it sounds kind of familiar, like somebody was maybe watching this show. I'm going with an edge rusher for Tampa Bay. I'm going to say they lean towards a productive guy, someone that I think could fit and grow with this team. That's a good team. I saw them last year, and I thought this was one of the most physical teams in the National Football League. I'm going to go with Donovan Ezaraku, who is much more of a finished product than as the reigning ACC Defensive Player of the Year. Of course, Mikael Williams has been they would seemingly take Georgia's Mikael Williams off the board if he were there, but Ezaraku is the guy at this point. There's also been talk of Mike Green, James Pierce Jr., but once again, it's an edge rusher, and we continue to hear rumors of corner, safety. I've heard that. I've seen mock drafts or whatever. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's really got a sense of what the Bucs are going to do, and it's going to be difficult to know because they're going to pick at 19, and let's say there is a quarterback on the board, then at that point, you would definitely have to entertain a phone call or two to trade down, pick up extra picks, and again, get those needs met when it comes to corner and safety. So once again, edge rusher, do you agree with Daniel Jeremiah?
I agree with the Buccaneers and Jason Light and Todd Bowles with the whole we're going to go offense because the offense scores points. It's how you win games. And Todd Bowles knows that it's defenses that win championships. And Jason Light, I think they're going to say anything they can to possibly put you off of that scent. But, I can just tell you this right now because no one knows what Jason Light's thinking. The dog just does it, especially after his draft in 2024. And he gets 6 players that literally become starters or they're on his team and they're going to be making immediate impacts. I would say that I get the edge rusher thing, even though you're taking Hassan Reddick and you're putting him on the left side because you're thinking of Shaq Barrett. You're thinking about what that left side pressure brings. You got the other guys over there. You got Kalijah going in the middle there with Vita Vea. But I still think that you're Jason Light talks about wanting to trade back, and he's putting it out there in case somebody wants to jump to 19. And it's not good. You won't know until draft day because, even T-Crash from WDE, I'll give him a little credit here. He was talking about this today. He was the fact that whatever you pick at 10, probably going to be the same in skill as far as your, players you're picking as you do in the 25 through 30. So it's a very deep draft for a lot of positions, but I still think in my romantic Buccaneer heart is that I want to see someone who's going to come in here and just sit on Levante David's hip pocket and learn how to play linebacker for the Buccaneers. It's not going to be Dirk Brooks, although that would be awesome. It's not going to be, whomever, Shelton Quarles, or, it's going to be someone that's going to come in here and learn how to call the plays, bark defense plays to these players, and learn how to be a quarterback. Winfield is a dog in the backside. You got Kalijah up front. You got the defensive line. You need that quarterback in the middle that sees the first level and the third level and knows how to call those plays. And that's where my heart sits in 2019. But, Jason Light, he does well. It remains to be seen.
So once again, you're okay with going with Campbell there at 19 if he's on the board and not having him until October?
That's just the thing is this defense and this everybody says, well, if Baker Mayfield was a tier 1 instead of a tier 2 quarterback, the Buccaneers would be a Super Bowl contender. Yeah, national media, shut up with your talking heads crap. You got to get clicks and views. The fact of the matter is Buccaneers team is still one of the top 5 teams in the NFC. And the thing is, Peter, and you and I talked about this the other night, is you say wait until October, a luxury pick, and it takes us right back to Joe Tryon-Shoyinka and the 2021 draft because we just won Super Bowl 55. I don't think that's the case here. I think that Jason Light, if he's looking for that middle linebacker to become Levante, and if it's Jihad, then that's the way you go. That's just the way I but then Jason Light, he surprises us every year.
He does surprise us every year. I don't know. I mean, again, it's a luxury, but then again, you want somebody to come in right away. I don't know if you can wait until October. I'm not sure. All right, so let's go out to the phone lines here. Stand by as we are getting our phone line in check here. Let's go out to Eric. Eric leading us off here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Only 4 days away until the NFL draft. What's on your mind tonight, boss?
Man, what's up, Peter Blake? And what's up, Ray Kennedy?
What's going on, buddy?
Eric.
Man, oh man. The Bucks. I saw this one draft that said the Bucks can go wide receiver. That was the dumbest thing I ever saw. A wide receiver.
Well, I don't necessarily think it's dumb, simply because of the fact 2 things here. If they can get a player that they feel, and I don't know if you go that direction, but maybe you go with best player on the board. And if Matt Golden out of Texas is the best player on that board, and you can't necessarily get a corner or get an edge, and somebody starts to make a run at edge, and Golden is on the board, and maybe it's saying, okay, Chris Godwin isn't necessarily healthy at this point. He's not going to be ready. So you go with the wide receiver because you got Mike Evans, you got Jalen McMillan, and then after that, what do you got? Trey Palmer? I don't know about that. Sterling Shepard? Don't know about that. Well,
Kate Otten.
Well, Kate Otten, but I'm saying wide receiver position at the end of the day. And you need speed on this team.
We also have the boy Coop.
Right.
The boy Coop guy.
Right.
But the defense, you know who I like from defense this year? I like that cornerback from Texas.
Corner from Texas.
I like that, and I also like the D tackle from Florida. 459-pound D tackle.
Yeah, they're not going to draft him at first round. I know you like him. Everybody likes him, but I don't know if he's going to make the NFL. Honestly, he's
big though.
No, he's not. I don't think he'll. No, I don't think he'll last. I don't think he'll be good for this team. I don't think he'll fit. I'm sorry. I don't think he'll fit on this team. I
No
don't.
way you go first round with Kalijah Casey in there with Vita Vea and in the future. And I'm not saying. Go ahead, Eric.
Go
Sorry.
ahead, Eric.
Could you imagine the two big boys up front? Nobody will be able to run.
No.
Well, the two big boys, or the big boy and the other fat guy that just sits in one place and just talks, just literally takes up shade. I mean, the thing is, the fact of the matter is, he's a dog and he's the biggest guy that'll ever be drafted, or if he gets drafted. But no, there's no reason why the Buccaneers go inside defensive line in this draft. I mean, it's got to be. I still say Hassan Reddick. He's got to have a prove it year. I mean, in the best of all scenarios, Hassan comes in here. He sets the Buccaneer sack record at 19.5 for 20 sacks, beats Warren Sapp, beats Shaq, and gets a big contract to stay here because he's dogging it. But he may come in here and just have a big year and go somewhere else. But I still don't know if edge rusher is the biggest need for this Buccaneers team in 2025.
What do you guys? How do you feel about these Rams rumors are heating up? These rumors are heating up with Ramsey. How do you feel?
What about Ramsey? There's no rumors heating up, my friend. I mean, that's been thrown out there. It's been put out there, and I haven't heard any other. It's just speculation at this point with everything else. Huh?
$30+ million. We got $30+ million in cap space.
Okay.
We got money to rehab. We got somebody. Could you imagine what our second year would be?
I don't see it. I don't see it. No.
Eric, let me answer your question, Eric. Is that I still go back to the whole Brinks truck backing up to the Jacksonville Jaguar facility because Jalen was just putting on a show. And that takes me right back to Devin White when he was saying, I'm already working on my second contract. And those two players, the one thing those two players have in common, well, Devin White not anymore, but Jalen Ramsey's still locking it down in the secondary. But the one thing those two players have in common, those just aren't Jason Light type of characters. And Peter Blake, that's why you and I, back when we were doing a draft show there at Ferg's and the Bucs draft Devin White, we're both like, we didn't see that coming. I mean, it filled the need, but it was like, and we knew he was a dog of a linebacker, but we're like, that's not a Jason Light kind of guy. We'd already seen what he'd been doing in 14 and 15 and 16. But I mean, unless Jalen Ramsey's taking a real team-friendly deal, or the Dolphins are eating 10 more million of that salary, and we're throwing them like a second or a third round pick, Jalen could make a big impact in the Buccaneers secondary, but I'm not willing to pay $20 million north of $20 million for a 31-year-old and wondering if he's going to come in here and leave his ego at the door.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just that doesn't make sense. Go ahead, Eric. Go ahead and talk.
Okay.
It's your show, bud.
The Bucs Super Bowl window is open. You think we should go all in? Let's go.
No.
Put our chips all in.
No, you don't go. Ramsey's not going all in. Eric, thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you.
Let's throw $60 million at Aaron Rodgers. Let's go all in and bring in, the Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
no. Everybody's like, go all in with Jalen Ramsey. No, you're not going to go all in. I don't see that happening at all. They're going to go more of a young player there. At the end of the day, they're not going to go with the guy who's seen his best days. We threw it out there. Let's see here. Let me go back out to these comments. Let me go. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go out to Alex here. I know what's on his mind. Alex, welcome to the Evolution.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, buddy. How you doing?
Doing good. I see you got my good friend Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy in the house.
We do. Yes.
Good evening, gentlemen. Guys, I know you guys are talking about the Bucs and you guys are focused on the draft right now, but I'm actually. How about the Bolts tomorrow, guys? We've got
Tampa Bay Lightning. We got We the Thunder podcast coming on at 9:00. So I'm focused on it. I'm focused, man.
I cannot wait. I will be there tomorrow.
Right.
It's going to be a great time. I'm so excited. A lot of people have been asking me what I thought about what the Bolts are going to do. I think the Bolts are going to come out hot, just like they did against them just last week. Do not sleep on the Bolts this year. I really do think that this year's a little different. I think Brad Marchand, however you say his name, brings bad juju.
The rat himself. Yes. The giant rat. Yes.
The face licker.
Yes. Face licker rat.
Yes. But excited about tomorrow. I wish we had some time. I know you got a special guest talking about some Rays baseball tonight. I really wanted to get some time to talk about your thoughts on some what are a lot of people are saying some very tough decision making.
Okay.
from Kevin Cash. I did want to ask you, Peter, before your
I
guest
mentioned
comes on
you.
tonight.
I mentioned you on the monologue. I absolutely mentioned you.
I want to get your thoughts actually together because I really respect your opinion. And of course, we got Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy in here. Always the best of the Bay. But I did want to ask you real quick. Just hear me out. Just hear me out because I know a lot of people are get upset about this. But you got 2 men on, nobody out. You got Brandon Lau, who was just clutch 24 hours prior.
Right.
Why would you let the 2 struggling hitters who got a combined 6 strikeouts, why would you not go to your bench in a very clutch moment, which we just watched 24 hours prior to that game? Why would you not go to your bench and give Brandon Lau that shot? That I know a lot of people are saying Lau's very up and down. I get it. But Brandon, the dog, is clutch when it comes. You just saw it 24 hours. What are your thoughts on Kevin Cash, in my opinion, not making the proper adjustments when the game is on the line, 2 men on, nobody out against your division rival, the New York Yankees? In the 9th inning,
I don't think it's all Kevin Cash. I think a lot of the decisions that are being made are not from Kevin Cash, they're from upstairs. We know that. We know how much they're into analytics and matchups and numbers. I completely agree with you. I don't understand it. Both of those hitters are ice cold. They've done absolutely nothing. You've got Brandon Lau on the bench. We've seen it before. We'll see it again. We're going to continue to get frustrated. Do I think this is all Kevin Cash? No, I told you off air that this is what he's got to work with. Does he make all the decisions? I don't think he does. I think this is from upstairs, and I think this is the direct result of it. And you're going to continue to have these frustrating situations where a lot of Rays fans are just shaking their head. Tampa Bay Ray, what do you say?
They didn't start Walls at shortstop. So right there, and we were talking about this yesterday on Cup of Ray, Alex. So we were like,
that's an improvement because that guy belongs in a lineup at all, along with Curtis Mead. I mean, how much more are you going to see of Curtis Mead? Whatever you saw him in spring training, that was a mirage. Okay, Curtis Mead in spring training is not coming through that door anytime soon to steal a line from Rick Pitino. Okay, he's not doing it. Go ahead.
Well, and Brandon, when Josh Lowe comes back, there's no way they're going to keep all these Durham Bull players, these Durham players, this outfield from Durham. There's no way they're going to keep them here. And although at the end of the day, we're starting to look at what a Magnum's doing and what a Meister's doing, and we're looking at these things and we're like, oh, this would be the future maybe. But when Lowe comes back, they're gonna put these guys back down, because at the end of the day, with your Rays, we can talk analytics. We can talk Blake Snell's 6th inning 2020 World Series against the Dodgers. We can talk about these calls they make. But at the end of the day, whether Kevin's calling it or the front office is calling it, which obviously it's Stu in the front office because they're all about this, they're going to put the guys out there that give them the best options. And, I'm using the word options for the future to continue. And I mean, who wouldn't know that maybe the reason why you don't put Brandon Lau out there is because there's a possibility maybe the Rays look to trade a Lau for a contender at the deadline to a team because they're 20 games below 500 because they're getting beat. I'm not saying this happens, but if it does, you get rid of a Lau, who they got grief 3 years ago when they gave him the big contract, because they're going to bring in younger players. But I don't know. I mean, it's a great question there, Alex, you asked there, but at the end of the day, it's hard to figure out exactly why these calls are being made. When they work, and when they don't, man, they really don't.
Why is Wall still here in the lineup? Why is Mead here? Because and I don't understand why they can't get a prospect that can hit. I get it. Walls is good defensively, and we're gonna ask this guy right here, Evan L. Bushman of the Rays Rewind podcast. So Alex, stand by for that. Use your second call a little bit later. Appreciate the question. Yes, sir. Let's go out to him here because it started out so well. And listen, I get it. It's early, and we shouldn't be freaking out about it. But
who's freaking out? Who's freaking out?
Well, I don't think anybody's freaking out. They're
Who's
not
freaking out?
9-13, and 5 of those 8 games they were shut out. El Bushman, help me out here. The Rays Rewind podcast. Welcome to the Sports Web.
What's up, fellas?
What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Happy Monday. I know it's been an eventful weekend. I know WrestleMania was off the rails. I saw a bunch of that stuff on X. So, yeah, Rays doing Rays things.
It was disappointing. It was equally disappointing as the Rays. It was equally disappointing as the Orlando Magic. It was not a good sports time if you were a Tampa Bay local Central Florida fan, because especially if you have roommates that are Boston sports fans, they will absolutely never let you hear the last of it. And then WrestleMania, completely disappointing the first night. The only thing that held that thing together was the first main event. And then the second night, all the matches got together, and that god-awful main event for the second night. So there's a bad taste in my mouth right now. Help me out with this Rays team, though. And let's answer this question that Alex put out there. Why isn't Brandon Lau in the game or another hitter instead of guys like Meade and Jansen, who have shown, and I get it, they're a part of your starting lineup, but they have shown that they're ice cold at that point. Why isn't Kevin Cash or the front office, which I think definitely has some say in making those decisions when it comes to analytics? Why aren't they making those changes at those times?
That's a great question. And I think that's something that everybody's pondered, especially this season too, because I think Cash has made some moves in the lineup when it comes to matchups lately where it's been kind of a head scratcher. And I think, it's the same old tale, man. They always have to rely on the analytics of everything instead of just playing pure baseball. And when guys like Meade have been struggling at the plate, and Lau has actually been doing pretty well, it's, hey, let's put Meade in, maybe get him some more swings and maybe he'll produce. I don't have an answer for you, Pete. Honestly, I don't, because it's kind of the frustrating thing is, okay, why are we putting in a guy that's been struggling from the get-go and just continuing to do this stuff? Now I get it, he needs more reps and more time at the plate, but when is enough? You know what I mean? So I think that's a question that the front office and Cash need to maybe come together and say, look, we need to stop doing these matchups by analytical standpoints and maybe just play some pure baseball. And when a guy is actually hitting well, let's put him in instead of having a guy that's struggling at the plate. So
yeah, and that's been through the whole last series here, your Red Sox, again, that Monday night, I feel like it was cursed there. You score 16, and then ever since then, once again, 5 out of the 8 games, you're shut out. And again, it's the same guys at the end of the day. It's Jansen's been disappointing. It's Curtis Meade. I mean, when do you think it's time to make those changes? Is it time to go to Eloy Jimenez? You've already gone to Chandler Simpson here because of the injury to Richie Palacios, which he came out, was starting to hit, and then all of a sudden, he just gets hurt out of nowhere. I mean, it's been like stigmata with this Rays team and Rays lineup. And I feel bad for Palacios because he's a guy that, to me, can obviously be a contributor on this team, but is not able to stay healthy once again.
Yeah, I think it has to go to the point that we're still early in the season now. I think for a lot of Rays fans that are freaking out, and the social media general managers on X and also Facebook, it seems like that the season's been longer than what it is to most people, but we're only 22 games in, and to hit the panic button or hit the time for a changing, as the Bob Dylan song would say, I don't think we're just there yet, because we've got reinforcements coming pretty soon. So look, you're going to have bad series. You're going to have bad series against good teams. The Yankees are a good team. The Red Sox are a relatively good team this year too as well. So yeah, you're going to look when you've got guys struggling at the plate and they're going against good pitching like the Yankees and the Red Sox have, it's going to happen. And the Rays are dealing with injuries right now, and they have to put in guys that they have to play because of those injuries. I love the fact that they brought up Chandler Simpson. I think that's a needed addition for the Rays offense, because he's the fastest guy in the MLB, despite what Jazz Chisholm has said in the news. But I hopefully he stays up, because I think having him at the leadoff spot really gives the Rays an extra dynamic for that lineup because of his speed and everything. And once he gets on base, I mean, that guy's going to steal second no matter what. So yeah, I think it's at that point where not time to freak out yet. We're still in April. April hasn't wrapped up yet. Look, a lot of teams start off like this, and I know we've become accustomed to the Rays starting off well in the first couple of months of the season, and then peter out the second half. So I'd rather have them peter out in the first half of the season than really catch fire in the second half. So all is well. Don't freak out just yet. Once everybody gets healthy and back up, I think they'll make the adjustments to where they need to be. And hopefully this offense can be more consistent than they have been. It's nice to see them, hit more than 10 runs in some of those games, because it kind of gives you a glimpse of, hey, what could be, once everybody gels together and they're all seeing the ball well. So, whoever's freaking out, man, just chill out.
Just chill out. Just chill. All right. Well, we'll chill out here. Ray, you got a question here for Bushman of the Rays Rewind podcast?
Yeah, Al, I wanted to ask you, I got really excited on Saturday because one of the biggest narratives going in here was the first homestand, our homestand with the Yankees in town at their training at the Stein. But that's Saturday when they're down 4 in the ninth. They come back, they tie it up, they win it in the 10th inning. Aranda, the injury, the Rortvedt hitting it home field on it. Was I premature in saying that we own that stadium, or is that going to be a continuing narrative, do you think, for the rest of the entire 2025 season? Every time the Yankees come in here, we're borrowing their spring training. It's not really our field, or is that even going to be a narrative, do you think?
Well, you're right. I mean, it's not our field at all. It's the Yankee spring training facility. So if you're expecting the Rays fans, which, look, the Rays have a good following, and, I'm one of them, you guys are as well. If you're expecting them to have more fans than the Yankee fans at the Stein, you're out of your mind. It's not going to happen. It won't. I don't think it'll ever happen. As much times that we're going to be here leasing out the stadium to the Yankees fans, this has been the long standing narrative about, hey, look, the Northeast fans outnumber the locals because, they're transplants, or they outnumber everybody because baseball hasn't been down here as long as the storied teams of the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. And look, that's just the case. We're in an area where it's a lot of Tampa people are New York Yankees fans. I mean, it's common knowledge. It's not like it's, oh my God, where do these guys come from? So look, when the Yankees aren't in town, the Rays will have more fans than the opposing team. But when they're in town and when the Red Sox are in town, it's business as usual. Should you be concerned about it? Yeah, I mean, if you're concerned about it now, then you haven't been a Rays fan for a while. You haven't been watching the Rays baseball play. So, it sucks, because I'm sure most of those fans that were New York Yankees fans that were attending, the series on this past weekend, I'm sure their second theme is probably the Rays if the Rays aren't playing the Yankees. So,
right.
So, yeah.
It's disappointing, but it's a usual occurrence.
Yeah, it's a usual. Look, you can say it is what it is because it is what it is.
Right.
So,
it is.
I'm from Staten Island, New York. My entire family, 24 of us moved down in 72. I know, right? But we're Mets fans. We're Mets fans, not Yankees. So we're Mets fans, not Yankees.
You guys are fine. You guys are fine. Mets fans are fine. You guys are all right.
Thank you, Al.
All right, we're on with Al Bushman of the Rays Rewind podcast. Yeah, Best of the Base, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Talk about Simpson yesterday, the controversy, because when it got hit, it looked like it was going to be an error. And then, of course, the official scorer here locally, Bill Matthews, said a very short explanation. I made a decision. What did you think of that? Michael Kay didn't really necessarily like it, although it was kind of moot at that point because Jake Mangum got the first hit. So I don't know why he was going off just to go off. You had the one hit. I get it. Everybody was looking forward to having the no-hitter, but was it the right call by the scorer there?
Yes, I think it was the right call. And I think McKay's just complaining because he's a New York-based guy and he's entitled to always complain about if nothing goes the Yankees' way. He made the right call because no matter what, Simpson was going to beat it out no matter what. He was safe no matter what. It would have been a hit no matter what. So I think he did make the right call. Now, I think anyone outside of the New York area, national media is going to complain and bitch and moan because, oh, well, it didn't go the Yankees' way. You spoiled history. Well, the next man up got a hit. So either way, there wasn't going to be a no-hitter no matter what. So, yeah, I think he made the right call. And after watching the clip a few times, I'm like, look, anything that takes away history from the New York Yankees, that's cool with me. I don't care.
Well, let's talk about what's the 300-pound gorilla in the room. That is that Boone, an inning later, when Judge has that foul ball, that because the foul foul line poles at Steinbrenner Field are 10 feet off the ground, and not like major league height that judge. And guys, you tell me. I'm gonna ask you, Al. I'm gonna ask you, Pete. You guys saw both replays from like the Yankees, and then of course they're on the FanDuel network. That was a foul ball all the way, but then Boone went out after Judge strikes out, and he goes out and makes a big deal.
It's not a game until Aaron Boone bitches him on and cries like a little baby for a call. So I mean, it's pretty expected for him to do that. He always bitches him on about the silliest little things, and I thought it was the right call. It's a foul ball. I mean, it was clear as day. So,
because Boone comes out after the game and says, "Yeah, there's no way that Simpson's going to get tagged out of first base. Simpson was going to beat that out 7 days a week and twice on Sunday, which was yesterday." But yeah, I mean, and Fried, and let's be honest, as Rays fans, I'm sitting there going, anything that'll break this no-hitter up, because I'm thinking already the Yankees are going to win 3 or 4. Okay, we got this. We're struggling. We're figuring it out. Let's break this no-hitter up. And I mean, I would have settled for Rortvedt doing a bunt at that point just to break that no-hitter up. I'm not worried about it's a rule of baseball. You don't bunt to no.
The Yankees do what the Yankees do, and they bitch about everything. Even if they win, they still bitch about something that went on during the game. I mean, they won the game for God's sakes, and you're still bitching and moaning about a win. So, as you can tell, I have a disdain for the New York Yankees and their organization and their fans. But that's again, it's going to go back to Boone does what Boone does, and he can play. I think he's the manager in the league that bitches the most about anything that doesn't go their way. So that's Boone, man.
Well, as you can see, I'm having a little tech issue here because I've got pictures falling all over the place. I thought this stuff would stay. It's not staying. So there you go. I apologize for me not being on right now, and apologize for the shadow, but there's basically nothing I can do at this juncture. With that being said, I can
see you. I can see you.
I mean, you can see
you
the
look
shadow.
Good.
Yeah, you look fine. Look good.
The shadow knows.
Shadow looks awful at this point. Sorry about that, guys. It is what it is. So I'll try to figure it out, but there's not much I can do at this juncture. With that being said, let's talk about some. I mean, what positives do you take, out of both of these series at this point? Besides Simpson, who else would you say is starting to, Junior Caminero? I mean, who else, in your opinion, is kind of starting to turn it around, or a positive that some Rays fans can, kind of say, hey, man, this is the reason why I'm going to watch on Tuesday night. Maybe they're going to be able to turn it around. Maybe this player is going to turn it around. What do you say, Al?
I think the positives is, when we see the offense explode let me dial this back. When the offense came back from the deficit on Saturday, it goes to show you that the offense does not quit, especially if it's a close game. Now, Sunday's game is a different beast. They're going up against Max Fried, he's definitely one of the top pitchers in the league right now. But on the Saturday game when they were down, and to go in it, look, I had checked out. I had watched the game when the Yankees were, I think, 5-1. I was like, this game's done. This game's over.
Right.
And, tuning back in, and they were tied it up in the ninth. I'm like, okay, well, this never happens, especially against the Yankees. So I think there's some positives there with the offense looking like that, where they're not going to be out, especially against weak bullpens. And I think the Yankees should have maybe did a little bit more homework on Devin Williams, him for playing for the Brewers before signing him over to the Yankees when it comes to blowing saves. But I think there is positive. I mean, Jonathan Aranda is a guy I can't speak more highly of. Is this guy has just been raking and becoming clutch in the system in areas in the lineup where he's just crushing the ball, and that's something that's been a positive him, because I was out on him a couple of years ago when they brought him up, and he just didn't seem comfortable at the plate. He just kind of seemed like he wasn't comfortable enough in the bigs. Yeah, he wasn't really comfortable in the bigs yet, but now I don't know whatever adjustments he did within those past 2 years, because now, I mean, coming into this season, winning, earning that final spot on the roster, there were some high hopes for him, but he's been nothing short of spectacular in that lineup. And hopefully it continues throughout the season. Now, I'm sure he'll regress maybe, but I hope not. But he's been really fun to watch, because we need some pop on that left side, and he's been providing it so far.
And I like what you said there because I mean the fact that the matter is he's pushing Yandy Diaz, who's now the DH, right? Pushing him off the field and taking over that first base. And I'm watching Aranda and I'm like, okay, let me think back to all the teams where the first baseman's the most important, Paul O'Neill or whoever you have first base, and I'm like, he's owning it. And I mean, you're right. He's probably going to have a few plays where you're like, he's still young. You're like, oh, what's he doing? But I think the difference between this Aranda now and the Aranda 2 years ago is that he just went, look, this is me. This is how I am. I'm going to be the best version of me that I can be, and let's go. And that's why I like the fact that the way he's playing, he comes back after he hits Wordfet, the glasses cut him on the nose. He's still dogging it out. He gets that walk off with the 10th inning. So I thought that was just a poetic beginning to it. And I think that we're going to see a lot more great things coming from Jonathan Aranda in the future.
All right,
I couldn't agree more.
Let's go back out to the phone lines here. Alex, you got a question for L. Bushman. I'm going to go ahead and put L. Bushman on the screen here. Ray, can you control this so I can try to put this sign back up? Stand by. Go ahead, Alex. Yep, go ahead, Alex.
Cool. Yes, so I wanted to add a couple of thoughts because, by the way, Evan, anytime you come in, I always ask Peter to give me the opportunity to speak with you. By the way, I want to add to give you a little laugh. I am one of the ex-trolls. I am one of the ones that jump on a Twitter post when the Rays lose. What I will say, I did want to add to you. I want to add some questions or ask some questions for you.
Sure.
Going back to Sunday, going back to yesterday, just one question, then I want to add a couple thoughts because I wanted to ask you a question about the starting pitching. But going back to Sunday, can you agree just slightly, putting everything aside, everything you said aside for a second, can you agree that you would have liked once the Rays, by the way, before I make that comment, I want to add, when the Rays were in the 8th inning, I wanted nothing more than, I didn't even care about winning the game. I wanted to make sure we did not get no hit. I cannot stand when the Rays get no hit. But can you agree that going into the 9th, you're looking at 2 men on with nobody out? Can you agree in that moment you go to the bench? With Brandon Lau, by the way, he was on the bench.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I mean, again, I think going back to what we talked about earlier with the analytics of everything, where the Rays kind of rely too much on that, with a situation like that where the where the runners in scoring position has been such an Achilles heel for the Rays, and it's been like that for forever how long, and it's continuing again this year too as well, where they've constantly left guys on base. And you've got Brandon Lau on the bench and you've got 2 guys on, one in scoring position. I think you gotta go with him. And this is one of the things that really irks me about Cash sometimes is he doesn't just use his baseball instincts and just do the smart baseball things that we would like him to do, but instead they're relying too much on the analytical side. So yeah, I agree with you. I mean, leaving him on the bench when you got 2 men on, it was kind of a head scratcher too as well, because listen, as much as I've dogged the big dog, Brandon Lau in the past about his lack of hitting per se, he's been pretty good this season. And I think that was kind of a missed opportunity for not putting him in, even though it wasn't looking good for the Rays at that point in time, but at least like you may have gotten a run in. But listen, that's why we're doing this podcast and we're not managing baseball teams like some people are.
Right.
Hey, L, I'm sorry. I was going to ask you, L, how much of this, the decisions that Cash made this last weekend, not going, we were talking about that Fried was on the mound there. Fried was on a bump for the Yankees yesterday. So the Rays are going to go all right-handed because that's been Kevin Cash's narrative this year. We're going to go all right. We're going to go all right. We're going to go, the hitter's going to hit the right. But then yet, no, he still keeps Caballero in there instead of putting Walls back in there. So how much of this is analytics? How much of this is Kevin Cash to you, L? How much do you think that this is just that Kevin Cash is, I still think he's one of the best managers in not the American League, but the entire Major League Baseball, not because he's anchored by a $20 million payroll or because he's anchored by a front office that uses sabermetrics, because of the fact that the end of the day, he's a dog that these players will go through a wall for.
I kind of look at it as it's 50-50 when it comes to decision makings on his end. Yeah, I agree with you too as well. I mean, I think he's one of the best managers in the league, and he's done a lot with the Rays, especially with the payroll amount that he has when it comes to his lineups and rotations. when it comes to decision making, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, they've got a bunch of smart guys in the front office, and they know what they're doing, especially when it comes to who should be what and what we're going to do in these certain situations when it comes down to it. Would I like them to not lean on the analytical side as much as they do? Yeah, I'd rather just lean on the baseball instincts that we've all seen better managers do in the past. And I think that's Cash's one thing that he leans on a lot is, we look at the analytics a lot. And to me, sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes they're wrong. And I wish they would just kind of play baseball and just stop looking at all the sabermetrics sometimes. And I think maybe that complaint for me is coming from that that fateful inning in the World Series in 2020 where he pulled Blake Snell. And I think from there,
You're right.
Yeah, I don't want to bring it up. But
Right.
like to me at that point, when that decision made, I looked at Cash a different way because to me that was like, oh, he's now such on the analytics of everything. We're not just going with pure baseball. And look, I'm not knocking Cash at all. I think he is a great manager. Do I think, with this team and the amount of payroll that we're afforded with is going to get us to the promised land ever again? I'm not sure. Will they get over the hump and win a World Series? I'm not sure. But, I think as with what he has right now, especially with all the injuries he has in place, he's got to do what's he feels is right for the team. But in that certain situation, which Alex talked about, I definitely agree. You could have taken Brandon Lau off the bench and see if something could have happened instead of going with what they did. So that answers your question, Alex.
Yeah.
So I do have a question for you, and I'm going to go head out of here, which, by the way, Evan, thank you so much for your time every time you come on here. As a diehard Rays fan,
if you're on X, I don't see you as a follower at all. Have you followed me on X or on the YouTube page for my show? I mean, geez.
I will gladly follow you because
it's right there.
You can't half-ass this, Alex.
You
can't half-ass. You can't half-ass this. You got to commit, Alex.
Yes, I 1,000% got you because as Ray and Peter both know, I'm a diehard Rays fan. But I want to ask you a question before I go about our pitching real quick, about our starting pitching. Do you agree that guys like Zach Littell and guys like Ryan Pepio, can you see those guys, especially guys like Littell, going back to more of a reliever role? Before you answer that, I've noticed some things about Littell especially. Littell is not a 5-inning guy. When does Littell 90% blow most of his runs? When he gets past the 4th inning. We all know that Littell, I think, came from the Red Sox when he came to the Rays as a more of a reliever type position. The Rays kind of do what the Rays do, which sometimes I don't agree with it. I think the Rays need to stop making these players do what they're not designed to do. But the Rays transform Littell more of a starting pitching role because of the injuries. But can you see guys like Littell, maybe even guys like Pepio going back to more of a bullpen role? And you see guys like maybe Joe Boyle getting recalled, who, by the way, pitched another 6-inning no-hit for the Durham Bulls just this past weekend.
I think you're reading my mind when it comes to Joe Boyle. So, do I see Pepio ever going back to the bullpen? No. They've put a lot of that. I mean, since McClanahan has been out, he's been that number 1 guy, and when McClanahan comes back, he'll be that number 2 guy. So they've invested a lot of him to be in the rotation and not in the bullpen. Now, Littell, that's a different story with his struggles lately. That could be an option for him to go back into the pen, or may do a role in the pen when McClanahan comes back, because just his struggles lately has been it's been frustrating. So would a move like that surprise me? No, I think that would be a better move for Littell because, if he continues to struggle like this, you're going to have a guy like Joe Boyle come up who I think he could earn a spot in that rotation with what he's doing in Durham right now and what we saw, that sample size of what we saw a couple weeks ago when he was up making that spot start. And I would love for that to happen. Like I said before, when they got him in the trade with Jeffrey Springs, I was all hyped because this dude can throw gas. He's got all kinds of crazy pitches. And once you get him with Kyle Snyder, who can work magic and miracles with guys that had control issues, like you have almost like a superstar pitcher just waiting to break out and be something special. So to answer your question, Pepio, no, he's going to stay in the rotation. They're going to fix whatever's going on with him. But with Littell, if he continues to struggle, they could probably put him in the pen when McClanahan comes back, which I don't think would be a bad thing for him because I think he'd be better as a reliever, like a long reliever, instead of being in the rotation with what he's going on right now.
All right, Alex. Appreciate the call, man.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Evan.
Yep. All right.
You better follow me or I'll kill you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you better hit that. Exactly.
Look, Heyman said a lot worse things today on the Pat McAfee show. So
what did you think? Because I know we're wrestling fans. Ray's somewhat a wrestling fan. What did you think of the 2 nights of WrestleMania?
So I haven't really watched wrestling since the good old days where Stone Cold was still around and The Rock was in his like early years. So I haven't really paid like I was in the era of like DX and all that stuff. So I haven't really watched wrestling now, but seeing the clips of what happened last night, it's almost if and this is kind of like a weird statement to say is I think WWE has really jumped the shark when it comes to stuff. And that says a lot because look, wrestling is pure entertainment. It's big, it's loud, it's out there. But after seeing night 1 of WrestleMania, it was like, man, this is too much. It's too much. You know what I mean? And I kind of like what John Cena said today on McAfee, where he's, look, I'm bringing wrestling back like to zero or something like that. He's going to start wrestling over where there's going to be like a brand new champion and a brand new belt. And maybe I think WWE should maybe strip it back down to the good old days. I think it's just getting it's too much. And that's why I haven't watched it in a long time, because it's just been, the good old days of having the superstars like I grew up with, they're not really there anymore. And that's why they keep bringing them back. They keep bringing back old ass Stone Cold Steve Austin and old ass Ric Flair and old ass The Rock. Like they bring all these guys back because the superstars of now, I don't think are as charismatic as the wrestlers were back in the day. So,
ouch. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Just saying, man.
I thought they were getting to a point there with their storyline, and I thought the first night of the main event, that was great, double crossed by Paul Heyman, but that second main event wasn't good. We'll talk more about that on Wednesday night. L. Bushman, go ahead and promote yourself here on the Evolution. Excuse me.
Yeah, we've got a new episode of the Raise Rewind podcast recording on Wednesday, so that'll probably drop Thursday morning. So make sure you go to the @the_sick podcast, Raise Rewind, hit the subscribe and notification bell, and follow me on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now @the L Bushman. And I'm talking directly towards you, Alex, because you son of a bitch, you haven't followed any of them.
You can't talk a game and not have game to back it up, right?
I know, right? Jeez. So.
Good stuff, my friend. Appreciate the time as always. Thanks a lot for being patient with the situation in the back there with the
I love the background, Pete. Do you play that piano once in a while?
I do. I have to play the piano at this point. I have to multitask to keep all these signs on. I just give up at this juncture. Thanks a lot, L. Appreciate you as always. Get out of here, ass. All right, so we'll get out to Shooter and Stash in a minute. Let's go out to the Tribal Troll.
Acknowledge me.
Yes, you've been calling over and over again. Let me guess. You got a wrestling update.
Man, you're harder to get a hold of than the president.
All right, what do you want?
All right, this first hour of Monday Night Raw after Mania has been better than 99% of WrestleMania.
All right.
That's all I'm going to tell you.
And that's it. Okay.
You do understand that's the narrative. The narrative is every now and then you give them the better stuff on Monday night than they paid $55 for on Sunday night, because that's the way you get them to want to pay for the next $55 Sunday night before the next Monday night. So that's all part of the process, though, right? We're all on board with that.
All right, man. I appreciate the time, dude. Call back. All right. We got
Love you, Roger.
Guy coming on here. All right. So we'll get out to Shooter here in just a moment. I don't want to neglect the web ads. Once again, thanks a lot for working with me here. I don't know what's going on with the signs, but just deal with it. I have to deal with it. I don't know what to say at this juncture. All right.
I like that background, Peter. Your beach house looks nice in the background there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thanks for catching up on that. Trying to watch the Reds and the Rays game. Well, the Rays game is not on tonight. Trying to watch the Reds game, Jim.
Damn it, Jim. What the hell's the matter with you?
Let's go out to I'm right. Hi, Peter. Hi, Greek. If he's here today, he's not. It's my B-Day tomorrow, Peter. Happy birthday. WTF, says Tim. Tim, again, lost you on YouTube. Again, just a lot of things going on tonight out of my control, so we'll just deal with it. If Campbell was healthy, he would be a top 10 pick. We'll see. Hassan will have a great year and be gone. He may be gone, and that's the reason why you draft an edge rusher, or you believe that if Reddick does go off for the Bucs, that, again, he will get taken care of by Jason Light.
Can I ask you, though, let's be honest, if Hassan gets off this year,
yes,
he gets off, and Jason Light says, okay, here's what we got. We got Tampa Bay. We got the boats. We got the boat parade. We got the Tom Brady throwing Lombardi from boat to boat. We're in Tampa Bay. We're in an income tax-free state. Do you guys and girls really think that if Hassan shows up in 2025, which I believe he's going to, that there's going to be an issue keeping him here beyond going forward? I mean, it's not like we're in cap hell. We're in Tom Brady cap hell. But, I mean, that was what the national media said.
No, I don't think there's going to be an issue at all because, again, Light and administration has shown that when you take care of your own, or when you go ahead and you produce, that he will take care of his own. Shooter, stand by here because we're getting ready to talk lightning here. Curtis, go ahead. What do you want to talk about? What's on your mind? Welcome to the Evolution.
Well, first of all, I'm pumped about the draft. Okay?
Oh, I know you are. Yes.
Pumped about the draft, and I wanted to comment on that Hassan Reddick thing.
Okay.
I think Hassan Reddick is going to have a good year.
How many?
And then
what's
going to sacks? I'm not. It's going to be a good double-digit year.
Double-digit year. Okay.
Easy. Yeah.
Give me 12 to 15.
12 to 15. All right, we got you. 12 to 15. That sounds good.
And here's the thing. Yes, he's on a one-year deal, but did Chris Godwin deal just not prove anything to you guys? I mean, that state income tax makes a big difference sometimes.
Big time. Big difference.
Big time. And it's like we're paradise. It's Tampa Bay. I mean, and I'm living here, so I'm not trying to brag about it. We're going into May, June, July, and August, and I got to put the sunblock on to not get skin cancer. But at the end of the day, we're still in paradise. You got boats 365, and this is Tampa Bay. You got to watch out for those hurricanes, Milton, Helene in October. But I mean, you're right. I mean, go ahead, Curtis. You're on the right path.
I mean, it was hot as balls today, and we're in April.
It was hot. It was hot.
It was. It definitely was hot. Absolutely. All right.
Easter was even worse yesterday.
Exactly.
I felt bad for all the little kids out there. Easter egg hunting, and I'm like, dude, it is scorching out here.
Yeah, I just stayed in. I stayed in my house. If I had to go out, I put the air on in the Tesla and rode out. And again, no problems with the Tesla, no problems with the air conditioning. Because if you have problems with the air conditioning in your car, throw the whole car away.
You're such a disposable person, Peter.
Throw it out.
I will say this.
Yes.
I've been looking at the top of the draft board.
Yes.
For the whole NFL.
Okay.
And I think that other than Carter
mm-hmm.
and what's the kid from Colorado?
Travis Hunter.
Yes. Other than those two, I think we're going to have a huge run on offensive players, and some of those defensive players are going to fall.
Well, I mean, and that's what the Bucs are hoping for. And then if there's a quarterback on the board, then maybe you can trade down because according to Adam Schefter, and we kind of cover this, that's been the big time rumor. One of the teams that is looking to trade down, surprise, surprise, Jason Light in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Curtis, I want you to hold that thought because we're getting ready to talk Tampa Bay Lightning. Call back later. We'll talk some more draft. As of course, we only got four more days to go, so we got you covered. But call back later, all right, boss?
3 days, sir. 3 days.
3 days, yes, because this night is almost over. You're absolutely
That's
correct.
Right.
All right,
love you, Curtis.
All right, good stuff there by Curtis. Continue to read these comments, and then we'll get out to Mr. Shooter himself of We the Thunder, their podcast, as we're live there on X with him. What's up, Big Game? Campbell is good. Of course, Big Game James. We got to get you on Wednesday night before the draft.
James Canada, number 98 in your program, number 1 in your heart. Former Buccaneer, current host of the Big Game Sports Buzz. Yeah, James Canada.
Jahad Campbell is underrated, a linebacker, better than Jalen Walker. Campbell is good. 2 giant goop balls. Ramsey has been an issue everywhere he goes. He's on the back end of his career. That's why I say you're not going to trade a premium pick and pay that $21 million. You're going to go young. That's what this Bucs team has done. Tim Haynes, facts, true that. Big game James again. Ramsey would be filler for 1 or 2 years, but still need to build through the draft. Exactly. Not just in the house, but in the house, which is rare. Barr must have lost power or something. I don't know. Kachuk is still up in the air. Whether he'll play tomorrow night, we'll talk about that with Mr. Shooter himself. Of
the wild card.
Yes. Rays are a minor league team. Let's see. Christopher Cole, that reminded me of WrestleMania 9 when Hogan took the title from the Hitman Bret Hart after fixing the Yokozuna match. Yep, it was like that. Peter Blake out. No. So he grew up. 2 giant goop balls. Shooter McGavin, absolutely. What is it? It's Happy Gilmore 2 is coming out. Hopefully they don't ruin that. No one is bothered by the signs, but you move on. I know, but I'm bothered by the signs, but I'll deal with it. The Tesla just a car. I drove the Honda today. I don't care. Louis, I'm going to have to disagree with Al Bushman. It's a different era in professional wrestling. Louis again. So you guys, Wednesday, 8 p.m. back live from Nashville. Absolutely. Louis there from the Frozen Pirate podcast, watching the Sports Talk Show, the Sports Web, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, awesome, and Christopher Cole. Saints need OL now that Ramczyk has retired. So there you go. They may be looking for a quarterback or could be looking for an offensive line. Who knows? We'll get back to that in a moment. Let's go out to this guy right here. All getting us ready for the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Florida Panthers tomorrow night, starting playoff hockey. Let's go out to Shooter right there of We the Thunder podcast. Welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. How you doing on a Monday night?
I'm doing good. My favorite show, and you're still doing it even though you're in your summer chateau there. I like that.
Yes. Again, we had a little bit of a problem there because Tropicana Field decided to fall down. The Bucs flags decided to fall down, so we had to go with a background. So we're gonna make it happen as always, and I'm trying not to freak out with this.
You look good. You look good, Pete. I'm just telling you, you look good.
I'm trying here. I'm trying, my friend.
Sports Web is moving on up.
Moving on up. There you go. Like George Jefferson, exactly. And speaking moving on up here, you have the Lightning versus the Panthers. You look at wins during the season, 47-47. Head-to-head wins this season, 2-2. Wins in the last 20 meetings, tied at 10. And goals the last 40 meetings, 128-128. I mean, this is exactly what the Tampa Bay Lightning fans, and I think what the Lightning wanted, this is the reason why you make the trades, right?
Yeah, this is what the Lightning have done pretty well in the last couple of years is when they've got a move to be made, they've made it during the trade deadline. And if you go back to pre-2019-ish when Steve Yzerman was running the team, he would not make some of these moves to bolster up like the bottom six or get that, maybe that sixth or seventh defenseman. And you saw a guy named JBB, who's the GM of the Bolts since he took over for Stevie Y, and he's made those moves. And, you've heard a lot about the Bolts third lines in 2020 and in 2021, and kind of did something similar this year. Now, Bjorkstrand is out. He's not going to play in this first series, but he hadn't really caught on to the team. He wasn't really in full swing with the team yet. He had a couple goals. He played well, but he's not going to be someone that they completely miss. Now, they did get Yanni Gourde as part of that deal, and I thought Yanni Gourde was kind of like the extra piece of this deal, the extra piece of the package, because he's really just a rental. But for Bolts fans, they remember winning 2 cups with Yanni Gourde, and he was a big part of that. And he has played really well the last 2 weeks of the regular season. So Yanni Gourde might be a guy who's an X factor, and the Lightning desperately needed somebody in that bottom six that can be a pest like Yanni Gourde is, but also be able to score some goals as well. And they accomplished that. So hopefully Bjorkstrand being out doesn't hurt them too bad. I don't think it will, because he didn't really contribute all that much in the short time he was here, at least as much as he'd probably want to. But he's week to week. So they're saying if the Bolts go on to the second round, which I think they will, he could be back.
Yeah, he could be back. And of course, I want to go back to these numbers here. Goals the last 145 meetings, 454 Florida, 454 Tampa, and record in the last 168 head-to-head meetings, including playoffs, 80 wins apiece. So again, this is a rivalry, and I think the Lightning, of course, have a chip on their shoulder from last year's first-round exit. Is that where you're at with this? Do you feel like this team has the momentum? What have you seen from this team lately that kind of gives you hope that they can do some big things coming into this postseason?
So it's actually insane how close these teams are, not just like regular season, but the history. So last playoffs, the Lightning lost in the first round to the Panthers that was a 5-game series. They beat us pretty good. Those games, though, games 1, games 2, I think game 3, they were really only 1-goal games. Now, remember in hockey, you get a couple games that end with a 2-goal difference, but we have empty nets, right? So you can always throw in a puck towards the end of the game. That happens a lot, right? Mm-hmm. But so these games were really close. But if you asked me at almost any time throughout the season, the last 2 seasons, are the Lightning going to win the Stanley Cup this year? I might have said yes, just to kind of like, make you happy because you live in Tampa and you're a Lightning fan. But really inside, I would have been thinking, no, if you watch this team, they're not a team that's going to make it to the Stanley Cup and win it. This year's team's different. And I think a lot of people have maybe forgotten how good the Lightning are. But, consider this. They finished second in their division, third in their conference. In the Eastern Conference is really a wide open conference for any one of these teams to win. I think people would say like Jersey doesn't have a chance. Maybe Ottawa doesn't have a chance. Maybe Marty St. Louis, Montreal Canadiens don't have a chance. But really, it is anyone's to win in the East. So the East is wide open. And you've seen the last couple of days, all of a sudden, ESPN, they're picking the Lightning to make the Cup Finals or win the Cup Finals. The Athletic only had one reporter pick a different team to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So the Lightning are quietly this giant. And, by the way, we've got the leading scorer in the league for the last 2 years. We've got one of the best goalies in the history of the game who's playing at like his old self. So really, I think one of the toughest things in this playoff run is going to be this series. There's 2 series to really keep an eye on in this first round. Over on the west side, Colorado and Dallas. Both these teams could make it to the Stanley Cup Finals and win it. Unfortunately, they play in the first round. Same thing with the Panthers and the Lightning. We all know the Panthers ended up winning the Cup last year. Sure, they did lose a lot of their depth players, but they've got their studs. They've got their horses that got them there. And they got Brad Marchand, who's a guy that nobody wants to play against now. So the question mark with them going into this series is they've rested a lot of guys. They've had guys with injuries. They've got guys that were suspended for PEDs. A guy, I should say. Ekblad is going to miss the first 2 games of this series. So the question marks are, are they healthy enough? Remember, they made the Stanley Cup not only last year when they won it, but the year before they lost it. So they've done what we've seen the Lightning done where they have played so much hockey. Like, do they have it in them to go through another 2 months of playing and winning hockey games? And I think that is going to be the big question mark in this series is how healthy is Florida and can they just jump back into Stanley Cup form?
We're on with Mr. Shooter there of We the Thunder podcast. I'm your host, Peter Blake, the Rolex reporter, along with Mr. Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. Tampa Bay, if you want to jump in and you can, but I'm going to say this. Nikita Kucherov, talk about his season. Once again, Art Ross trophy winner. And because the Lightning are getting all this love nationally, do you think now he will finally get some consideration for MVP? Excuse me.
I hope so. I mean, he should win it, but I also thought he should have won it last year. Last year, he statistically was better, and he really carried the team offensively. Like, he was in on, I think the number was like 50% of their goals he was scoring or getting an assist on. And somehow Nathan MacKinnon, who's a great player too, but Nathan MacKinnon wins league MVP. So I think with Kucherov this year, he was injured. He still won the Art Ross for points. I think that this year's as good of any for him to finally win that. I think he gets a bad rap because he's not good with the media. He doesn't care to do interviews, and he's Russian. And I think a lot of times the voters for these are biased against Nikita Kucherov, and you really still don't hear a lot of national TV figures talking about him, even on NHL Network. I will give PK Subban some credit. When the Lightning were on ESPN or TNT, whatever it was, the other day, PK Subban was the first person who I really heard on TV, like publicly promoting Nikita Kucherov as the best hockey player currently in the world. And he's 100% right. So I wasn't a PK fan. I am now.
Well, you have to be a PK fan after, what he said about Cooch. I mean, just giving him the love, and he deserves it. He's deserved it for the last 2 years. And, it goes back to one of my colleagues, Leo Haggerty, what he said about him being like the Magic Johnson of hockey, how he, distributes and how he's able to pass the puck, and he's unselfish, and he'll make that key pass to, guys like Hagel and guys like Gensel. And it's so huge. And he definitely is the guy that is the setup, or he's the guy that stirs the drink for this Lightning offense. With that being said, a lot of people would say that the Panthers are getting healthy at the right time. Tkachuk being one of those players. Do you think I know you're not a doctor, but do you fathom him? Do you feel like the Panthers would have a little bit of momentum also because they're getting healthy at the right time?
Yeah, I think it was brilliant to do what they did and put some of these guys on IR that helped them acquire Marchand. There's this thing called cap circumvention. That's a big topic in the NHL.
Now, Shooter, the Lightning have nothing. We don't know Brice Bois. We don't know how to work the cap. So we're new to this. Explain this to us in more detail.
Well, they do, because
right, they do.
$0 in cap space. There's $0.
Right. Which, by the way, we would like to wake up one of these days, because you set me up for that, Tampa Bay Ray. I knew you were going to do that with the Rays. They will never ever have a cap where they spin to that cap. They're all just, the Lightning do whatever it takes and make the moves. And this is the reason why, once again, they're up for a Stanley Cup and could have that Stanley Cup. But go ahead and finish your thought there, Shooter.
Well, and the thing about it is they really have to win it in these next couple years. The window is closing. Cooch isn't getting any younger. Vasky's not getting any younger. They're two stud defensemen, Hedman and McDonough. They're late 30s, or Hedman's 34, 35 now. But once you kind of get to that age, it's not like playing forward. It's when you're on defense, it gets harder and harder to do. So the window's open now, and JBB, the GM of the Lightning, has said since he started, I owe it to all these players that have built this franchise that are currently on the roster to do whatever I can to put them in the best position to win. And I think that's why you see him make the moves that he's made, not only at the trade deadline, but some of the moves that he made in the offseason, had a lot of Lightning fans crying, right? Losing Steven Stamkos, trading away Mikhail Sergachev, but to turn that around and get Jake Gensel, who led the league in power play scoring, and to get Sergachev's out and Ryan McDonough's in. Ryan McDonough leads the league in plus minus, which is an unbelievable stat. That means when he's on the ice, the team scores way more goals than when he's off the ice. So to make some of these moves, even as little as spinning a draft pick to get the rights to pick up Jake Gensel before he hits free agency, was a massive move. So, like I said, he's always said he owes it to this team to do whatever he can, put all their chips in the basket to win these cups now, because it ain't happening 5 years from now. So it's an exciting time to be a Lightning fan. Now's the time we need to enjoy it. Now's the time you need to go cheer on this team. And now's the time they got to do their part of the bargain and start by getting out of the first round, which they haven't done in the last 2 seasons.
Let's go out to the phone lines here. Alex, using your second call. Welcome to the evolution of sports talk television with Lightning Talk.
Shooter, I actually get the opportunity to follow you and Thomas's podcast of We the Thunder, and always wanted to call in and talk to you, and you called the right show today. So good to have you. You talk about the front office, man. Talking about what we're able to accomplish. A lot of people, and you know for yourself, a lot of people were upset about what the trade happened when we let Stamkos go, but you'd be surprised. I was really happy to hear Jake Gensel's a guy that I really want to talk about tonight. A guy that actually got healthy, because if you remember, he was actually just got re-added. I think it was a game or two ago when the Bolts went on that rampage. I think it was against Florida. I think we won that game 6-2. Jake Gensel came in. I think he got a goal or two himself. But how huge has it been to get a Jake Gensel, which, by the way, scored, I think, 15 more goals than Stamkos did this year alone. How great was that trade?
Yeah, well, all Jake Gensel does is score 40 goals a season. Like, I think the last 3 seasons he scored 40 goals. And, you know, I think what the Lightning really kind of did their homework was, you know, people didn't know how Jake Gensel was going to play when he's not playing with a guy named Malkin or Crosby in Pittsburgh, because Jake Gensel really, most of his career was in Pittsburgh. When he got traded to Carolina during the trade deadline last year, he was their top scorer in the playoffs. And you didn't see any drop off. And for a guy to do that on a new team is really hard. We talked about Bjorkstrand being out. Like, Bjorkstrand really never hit his stride with the team yet. And he'll be here back next year too. And he might be back this playoffs and do it. But for a guy to do that and be able to step in and lead the team in scoring, I think the Lightning had their hopes on getting Jake Gensel. And that's why they made that move to just trade for his rights. Jake Gensel could have said, no, I don't want to sign with you. I want to see what else is out there in the next 24 hours. But Jake signed here. And a lot of people thought, hey, $8 million, that might be an overpay. I don't think anyone's saying that anymore.
Yeah. Sure. Let me ask you this: with Vasilevsky in goal, why would you go anywhere else? But I want to ask you this, Shoot, because last year when the Panthers beat the Lightning, knocked them out of the playoffs, and the Panthers ended up getting playoffs, they end up getting their first championship. We already had 3, so it's okay. We go back to 92, 93. The Lightning came into the league, and 1 year later, the NHL gives the Florida Panthers, they give Miami that team. And Wayne Huizenga had already purchased the Marlins, so we got the Rays in 98. And so there's this interstate rivalry. There's just like this hatred, this Florida, the battle for Florida State. So tell me, Shoot, here in 2025, as we start game 1 tomorrow night in the playoffs, first round, tell me why the hatred that us Lightning fans have for those stinking Panthers in Miami, tell me why this year is going to be different than last year.
Good question.
So, yeah, that is a good question. So if you look at the rosters, when you win the Stanley Cup, and if you go to the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row, Lightning fans know it better than anyone else, but Florida just had that happen. They lost a lot of players. Now, they didn't lose any of like their big names, right? They didn't lose their Cooch and their Point. For them, that's like Barkov, Kachuk. But what they did lose is bottom 6 in depth on defense, whereas what the Lightning did in the offseason and during the trade deadline is what they addressed. So Panthers fans are out here talking about, well, really all we have to do is shut down Cooch and Point. They're not wrong. You do have to do that. But hey, what happens when you have Brandon Hagel and Anthony Cirelli on that second line? And then you've got some more depth behind them with Nick Paul. And there's a guy named Gage Gonzalez. If you haven't been watching, this guy's a rookie, and he just keeps playing better. Same thing with Geeky. Geeky just came back. He went and spent half the season in Syracuse after playing half the season up with the Bolts, and he was killing it in Syracuse. And he's going to benefit from this Bjorkstrand injury because he's coming in to play that spot. But guess what? He's had that time to play with the Lightning, so he might just have got his mojo in Syracuse, and he did come back and score in 2 of his 3 games since he's been back. So we've got some wild cards. And we've also got much more depth on defense. And I think a lot of people forget, not Lightning fans, but a lot of people that are Panthers fans forget Ryan McDonagh is back. And a lot of people said Ryan McDonagh could have won the Conn Smythe, which is your MVP for the NHL playoffs, in either year, 2020 or 2021 when they won the cup. He was getting votes.
Yeah, I mean that's a big time move. It's been a big time move for this Tampa Bay Lightning team to give them that veteran presence, to give them that veteran blue liner. Alex, anything else?
Yes. So you talk about two players, huge players that were not with us this time last year for the playoffs, and that is a Yanni Gourde and McDonough. Huge having those two, and I think those two alone, along with the speed of guys like Connor Geeky, don't forget about guys like Brandon Hagel, what he's been able to do this season when he's healthy. There is this roster, this lineup for the Bolts is so much more different than last year because, number one, for the most part, we are healthy. And two, I just think there's a little bit more of that energy and that go get in this Bolts team than there was last year. And you saw that just last week against the Panthers when we kicked their butt.
Makes lots of sense. It does. Yeah. All right. You add that veteran presence, and it definitely has helped this team this year. Alex, appreciate the call. If you guys want to get on the phone lines and talk to Shooter of We the Thunder podcast, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Go ahead and break down this Florida Panther team as you see it, Shooter.
So there's a few things to look at in this series. I don't want Bolts fans to get too discouraged when the power play maybe doesn't do so great. For some reason, the Panthers play really well against us on the power play. In fact, they're scoring goals against us this season on the power play. I remember the first meeting with them here at Emily. I was at that game. They scored 2 shorthanded goals. So for whatever reason, they smother the Lightning on that power play. But one of the things that the Lightning really did during the offseason and for this year's team is become a much better 5-on-5 team. That is part of the reason why I think they moved on from Stamkos, is because Stamkos' 5-on-5 numbers were not good. Jake Gensel's really good 5-on-5. So that's one thing that I think don't panic on, right? If we're not scoring on the power play, this team's got to score goals 5-on-5. The other thing is the Panthers are really good on the road for whatever reason on the PK, and we have the first 2 games here at Amalie. So don't panic on that.
Let me ask you this though, because I'm all about keeping that front porch clean. Keep that front porch clean so that Vasilevsky can see everything that's coming at him. Kachuk might come back tomorrow night, might not, maybe Thursday night. But he'll be back. Why wouldn't he be? Just like we're looking for a certain Rays shortstop to be available in San Diego later this week, but we'll go there later. But I mean, we're talking about can the Lightning keep the front porch clean tomorrow night against these Panthers so Vasilevsky can see everything and stop everything? Or are you thinking that that'll be a main concern for the Lightning going into tomorrow night's first game 1 of these playoffs?
Let me just add this too, because you've seen some turnover hockey from the Lightning, and we know when they turn the puck over that bad things can happen, no matter it's Florida, whomever it is. So you got to get that cleaned up. So he brings up a pretty good point there. You also got to keep that crease clear, right?
You guys should talk more hockey. You know what you're talking about here. There's a couple things that I'm worried about. One is what you were talking about, Ray. The Lightning defensively, they kind of have a collapse strategy, which means everything kind of in the middle and close to Vasi is where they really tighten up. But anything kind of further out, they'll let you skate. They'll let you get your shot off. Here's where that might be a problem. The Florida Panthers are a team that, unlike the Lightning, if you've been to a Lightning game, you hear shoot the puck a lot, right? Because they love these pretty goals and they love the setups. The Florida Panthers, there's no problem shooting the puck. The Florida Panthers will shoot the puck from mid-ice, the blue line, behind the net, and that is where I get a little bit worried because those goals, they're tough to stop. The Lightning are not a good shot blocking team, despite having Ryan McDonough, one of the top shot blockers in NHL history. They're not overall a good shot blocking team. And I think that's because they want Vasi to see that puck. So Florida's going to shoot a lot from outside because that's where they're going to have the room. And that's scary because a lot of those pucks, Bassey's going to be screened on. You can't stop a puck unless you're real lucky if you can't see it. The other thing that happens is deflections. It could be, a player from Florida's stick just getting on the puck and redirecting it. It could be it bounces off a Lightning player's butt. And those, again, are really, really tough to stop. So based on what Florida likes to do offensively and what we like to do defensively, I'm hoping the Lightning kind of change up their strategy a little bit and tighten up on defense and don't let them get that extra step or extra shot. And my guess is they'll start blocking a lot more shots here in the playoffs. The other thing is the forecheck. So like Peter said, the Lightning have been known to cough up the puck. It's not just the Lightning. That's just how goals are scored in the NHL, right?
Right.
But they've had issues with that third line, Perbix and Lilleberg. I think Perbix is a little bit better with the puck control than Lilleberg, but they need Lilleberg in there because the other wild card on the Panthers side is they're the most physical team in the NHL. I believe they lead the league in hits. The Lightning are not that physical, but they have the guys like Lilleberg, the guys like Chernak, where they can play that way if they need to. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to see Florida flying out there, hitting hard, not worried about getting penalties, and hoping that they can outmuscle the Lightning. But the Lightning know that there's a couple different ways to play, and that's why they were so good during that Stanley Cup run, is because they could beat you anyway. So that's what we're going to find out in the next week is, do the Lightning have these different gears that they can turn into? Because if they can get past this first round in Florida, it might be smooth sailing after that.
It may be. And of course, I think Toronto is also, on everybody's mind. Can they get through Ottawa, or will they choke again? Will they choke in the postseason? From what you've seen of Toronto, is it the same old story with this team, or could it be their year where they finally get over the hump, in your opinion?
No, I think Toronto can definitely win the Cup this year.
Okay.
Remember what I said earlier, the East is wide open.
Yeah.
So Toronto could definitely win it. They are very talented, and they've got something that they didn't have in the past. They've got two goalies that are good enough to get the job done. And I don't know if they plan on switching those up. Maybe when Stellares kind of doesn't do as well, maybe they go to Hull, but they're both pretty good goalies. So Toronto does actually scare me this year, but it's more because I think that it is such a wide open conference. All right, and by the way, before anyone else says anything, story of this hat was I started wearing this in 2020 and we won 2 straight Stanley Cups, and we went to 3 straight Stanley Cups, and I had long hair then, and this hat just does not fit. So if I wear it straight, it just kind of looks funny, even back.
Shooter, for the record, I remember that. I remember your long hair, and I'm going to go ahead and say this. I'm also very impressed that Toronto has finally done something to try to win that cup back, to bring it north of the border, because USA has been opening it. But let me ask you this. Again, I kind of alluded to this earlier with the whole Florida versus the Panthers versus Lightning. The Panthers won their championship last year. Tkachuk might be ready for game 1 tomorrow night. I think he will be. Do you feel the Lightning, do they have enough of a presence here to overtake that narrative in 2024 was the Panthers are finally getting what they're getting what they feel like they came for? Do the Lightning go back and reclaim that and get their fourth, well, win the first round, but get their shot at the 4th Stanley Cup in team history?
Well, I think a lot of it's going to be determined what happens in this first series, and especially these first 2 games, because the first 2 games are at home. Florida is still missing arguably their best defenseman because he did steroids or whatever he did. He's suspended. Yeah, these first 2 games are huge, and I feel like if they can get over that hump and beat the defending champions, because Florida's still a really, really good team, and they could win the Stanley Cup if they win this series.
Sure.
But I feel like if they get over that hump, get back to winning playoff series and doing that in this first round, I think 100% they can win the Cup this year.
Yeah, I mean, you got Sam Reinhart there with 39 goals, 81 points. You got former Lightning player there, Carter Verhaeghe. We've already talked about Barkov and Tkachuk. Want to go out to these comments here. Dar Emanuel right there, Miss Darlene, the Green Queen herself. Happy Monday, gang. Happy Monday to you. And And Nicholas, come on, let's not be disrespectful here. You know who this guy is right there, that shooter from We the Thunder podcast, who is a sidecap clown. Your clown, my friend, for saying anybody on my show is a clown.
This guy sucks.
Stop saying people are clowns and all other stuff, or I'll bang your ass. We're on the evolution of sports talk television. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Shooter himself of We the Thunder. So, with that being said, do you feel like, Florida's plan is going to be to try to out-physical this Lightning team, which, like you said, can be physical, but more is finesse, right? So I guess my question is that the game plan, in your opinion, for Florida to really, get them in the box, out-physical this finesse team in the Lightning?
Yeah, I think that's Florida's game plan. It's shots on net and just be physical, because the Lightning, they're not as big, they're not as physical as they had been during the cup runs, but they still got, like I mentioned, Lilleberg hits real hard. When he connects, you feel it. Chernak's a maniac. The reason why that guy is always injured is because he doesn't back down from anyone, and he does like to block shots. But even like Hagel's a pesky player, right? Braden Point got in a fight the other night. So there's not a shortage of players that are willing to get physical. It's just, does it intimidate them? Does it make them think twice about cutting in front of the net? Only time will tell, but I think that's 100% the strategy Florida's going to go with. We're going to hit, and we're going to throw pucks at Vasilevsky, because eventually one's going to find the way in.
Let's talk about the goaltending, because it's evenly matched, although I think it favors Vasilevsky, of course, because he definitely does have that playoff experience. Not to say that, Sergei Bobrovsky there doesn't have his success.
Stinking Panther.
Yeah, I mean, how do you see this goaltending matchup, and where can the Lightning expose this goaltender, in your opinion?
So I think it's pretty even, right? If you kind of break down, and it's almost right across the board, right? Lightning forwards are better. You could say Florida's defense is better, and then goaltending is pretty even. I think you're seeing a lot of the pundits on national TV and NHL Network say that they're going to go with the Lightning this series, probably because a lot of the question marks on the side of the Panthers with, the health and whatnot, and, being able to have that chemistry and jump right into it tomorrow. But also the goaltending, they're giving Vasi the edge, and that is because he's been the best goalie the second half of the season. He's not going to win the Vezina Trophy, which is goalie of the year, because it's pretty much locked down by Hellebuck of the Jets, who's had another really good year, and he's still like first place in like 5 different categories. But if you look at all these goalie categories for the second half of the season, it's Vasi. And we haven't really seen Vasi like that since 2 years ago, because remember, he started last year on IR and started to get things back together by the end of last season. But this is a much better team in front of him, so that always helps with the goaltending too. But I don't know. I really think it's a wash with these goalies. I wouldn't be surprised if each one of them has a shutout. And I wouldn't be surprised if all of these games are very low scoring, even though you've got the Lightning, who are one of the highest scoring teams in the league.
What do you make of the Isaac Howard situation? Because I know he's a prospect, just one top hockey player in all of college hockey at this point. It certainly seemed like he wanted to waste a year, sign with the Lightning. What do you make of the situation? Do you think they can get it done, or do you think he goes back into the draft, or he actually doesn't go back into the draft? He actually gets traded by JBB.
I've heard a lot of rumors. My thought is he's never going to play for the Lightning. That ship has sailed.
Really?
So I don't know. Sometime we'll find out the truth of what really happened. There's a lot of things that went into that, right? Like I mentioned earlier, 0 cap space. How are you going to bring a guy? I heard that they were going to figure out a way to bring him in just for that Rangers game, and they were going to let him play in the playoffs.
Playoffs.
Yeah, I'm fine with what they did, just because sometimes it's tough to just throw a guy in there straight from college and just expect him to be playing some of the most important minutes of the season. But on the other side of it, I really, really would like to see him with the Bolts long term because he's a really good player and probably the best player that is under Lightning control. But with what's happened, why would he sign with the Lightning? Because all he has to do is go back to Michigan State, maybe win the Frozen Four there, because he won College Player of the Year last year, the Hobie Baker, this year, I should say.
Right.
And then in next August, he can sign with whatever team he wants to. So the advantage of signing with the Lightning was he would lose basically that one extra year he doesn't have. They take that off because he would go sign with the Lightning this year. But that is not happening. So my guess is Isaac Howard is never going to play for Lightning.
All right, let me go out to Nick here. So you cursed us by getting your haircut. Thanks, Samson. Good luck here. It's tough to repeat. There's no breaks along the season. Bang. What, Peter? You kiss your mom with that mouth. Florida will be spent if they beat the Lightning. Bazzi will pull through. Go Bolts. All right, I'll allow you to have that.
Oh, yeah.
But don't, I know you're kind of trolling a little bit, but, don't insult my analyst here of We the Thunder podcast. Does a great job. Give me the keys for this Tampa Bay Lightning team to move on, and what's your prediction for this team to move on versus the Florida Panthers? Because I kind of look at it as last year this Lightning team was old. The advantage was to the younger Florida Panther team. This year I kind of look at the Lightning, and they're a lot younger. They seem like they're better equipped at this point. I think they have the advantage. I think national media is starting to see they have the advantage. So what gives this Lightning team the advantage, in your opinion? Who are some key players for this series, and what's your prediction going forward?
I think it's going to be the depth that they haven't had the last couple years because of the salary cap. They fixed that this year, and that is going to be key. So your X factors are going to be Jake Gensel and Brandon Hagel. Don't forget, Gensel's been here before. He's actually a really good playoff player. He's won 2 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins. But Brandon Hagel has not played in very many playoff games. He's never made it to a Stanley Cup final. And you also have a bunch of guys on this roster who are on that same boat. Remember, these guys, even from the Colorado Stanley Cup where we lost, this roster is almost completely different besides, our Points and Vassies and Kucherovs. So I think you got a lot of young players, and I Kucherov, Point, Hedman, they've got to do their thing, but they are going to be the target of the Florida Panthers, and Florida Panthers are going to do everything they can do to shut down Nikita Kucherov. So what needs to happen in place of them, or in place of Nikita Kucherov scoring 3 points a game? Hagel, Gensel might be tough because he's going to probably be on that same line, but who else can score? Gage Gonzalez, mentioned him. He's been really good down the stretch here. Nick Paul, can he be an unsung hero like he's been in the past for this team? It's really going to be the bottom 6 players, and somebody has really got to stand up and be that unsung hero for this team to go forward. So I don't know who that's going to be yet, but they do need that to happen for this team to actually even just get out of the first round, I think.
You talked about Geeky. Do you think he's one of those type of players where he's not too big for the moment? He's been there. He's got the experience. He's, explosive, talented, dynamic. Nobody's really considering him. He's kind of under the radar. Do you see a player like that kind of, starting to try to put it together, especially during the postseason?
I hope so. So he came up, scored goals in back-to-back games, and then we're pretty much here in the playoffs. So I think the time sent back to Syracuse, which is minor leagues for us, and he spent a lot of time down there. I think that helped him. I think that helped him just kind of define his game. He played really well for the first half of the season, but he really wasn't scoring. He was getting really great opportunities, but he couldn't put it in the back of the net. And so far, we've seen him back in a couple games, and he's found the back of the net. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. They had put him up with Point and Cooch, which I could score with Point and Cooch playing on that line. So I don't know if maybe they try to put them together and just kind of boost up his confidence. But, Geek is a big guy. And I don't think he's going to be playing 20 minutes a night, but he can be that guy. He's always found the puck on his stick. He was almost kind of a puck magnet earlier this season. He just couldn't put past the goalie. So I hope, just the experience has got him there. And he might not even be here if Bjorkstrand doesn't get injured. So he'd be a great one to step up, because then we have a good problem to have going into the second round with some extra forwards waiting in the wing.
By the way, for the record, I could score with point and cooch too. So
Anyone can.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right. So how many games does it go? How many games does it go in your opinion here, Shooter?
I'm still going 7 games. The
7
Florida
games?
Panthers are legit. They are a legitimate
defending
team.
champions, right?
They lost a lot of players, but they're still a really, really good team. So I'm expecting to get all they've got. But I still think the Lightning win this series. I'm saying 7, but if the Lightning come out and win these first 2 games and Florida's just not gelling, or they're slow and these injuries are maybe real and they're catching up with them, it might be a much shorter series. And that would be huge for the Lightning, because for whatever reason, the NHL decides, even though there's nothing going on at Amalie Arena Saturday, Sunday, today, the NHL decides that Lightning and the Panthers are not going to play till tomorrow. There's 2 teams playing game 2 tonight of their series. So I don't know why the schedulers did that, but it put the Lightning at a huge disadvantage, because it looks like Toronto is going to handle their business and maybe get a week off waiting for whoever wins this series.
Well, shoot, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm thinking the same thing. There's nothing going on at the Amalie Arena whatsoever. There's no circus. There's no, Lily, Easter Lily type of convention. So I'm wondering the same thing. I'm looking at the schedule. I'm thinking Tuesday, Thursday. Why'd they space these things out? And I think it's because you go back and look at the history of these 2 teams, the fact that the Panthers are the defending Stanley Cup champions, and the fact that this rivalry in state has the rivalry between the Lightning and the Panthers. I think the NHL went, let's go ahead and ride this thing. And so I'm ready to tee up tomorrow night, and let's tee up again tomorrow night and Thursday night.
Absolutely. We'll definitely have Shooter back on next week. If you'd like to come on, always promote your podcast here, because we love you on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, and we love to talk Tampa Bay Lightning hockey, my friend.
Yeah. So if you haven't checked us out, follow at We the Thunder Pod. X is probably where we're most active. We do our show on Wednesday nights during the regular season, but regular season is over. So what we've done since we started in 2020 was we do post-game shows after every playoff game. Even if the playoff game starts at 8:30 like they do tomorrow, we will be live shortly after the final whistle. We are actually going to be for games 1 and 2. We will be downtown, and we'll be at Top Shelf Sports Lounge, which is like a hockey-themed bar. It's on the first level of the Truist building, the one that's lit up, hopefully with the lightning bolt tomorrow. So if you want to come by, and I'm actually going to watch the game 1 there, and then we're going to broadcast afterwards. So they've got drink specials and all kinds of stuff going on there. And then, like I said, after the game, we're going to do our show live there. So check us out after playoff games, and then we'll probably be back to our Wednesday schedule next season. I don't go full sports web. I take the summer off. Usually we do like 1 show a month and get a really good guest during the off season, because there's some news, but it's not all the hype of like, the NFL draft and the year-round NFL. Let me leave you with this. On our show, we do a bunch of stupid stuff, but when I get PF Chang's, my favorite Chinese restaurant, I always take my fortune cookie and donate it to the show. So on our last show, I pulled my fortune cookie, and this is the fortune for round 1 here. I have fortune cookies for 3 more rounds, so hopefully we'll get to use them. But round 1 versus the Panthers, I know this is going to be tough to see here.
I see it.
Victory is just around the corner.
Victory!
Oh,
love it right there. Good stuff.
now shoot. If I come over to Tampa tomorrow night on the post-game show, will you give us a little spot in there? Bring me in there. Let me tell you what's going on there after the first game between the Lightning and the Panthers over at the Amalie Arena tomorrow morning.
I always have 4 mics, so
there we go.
I'm there, bro.
I learned from the best.
Thank you.
But yeah, it will be a late night tomorrow. The post-game show is probably not going to start till 11, and tomorrow's going to be a little short because I don't want to keep the people at that restaurant too long. 6:30 start time on Thursday. The NHL really likes to screw with us with these start times. So we'll go a little bit earlier.
We're Florida.
There you go.
But no, anyone's welcome to come join us. Like I said, I'm going to be just watching the game and setting up there. In fact, I might go live during the game, and you can just watch me watch the game. So you're welcome to join, right?
All right. It's good.
I'm there, buddy.
Appreciate you. We'll definitely have to get out there and support you guys. We love what you guys do, and you're always welcome on the Evolution. Come back on next week. All right.
Yeah, let's do it next week.
All right. Sounds good. There you go right there. Shooter of We the Thunder. We'll read the rest of these comments, and I think we'll get out for the night here because I want to keep it under 2 hours so we can start to make some reels here. So let's go ahead and do that. Great analysis of Bolts and Panthers. Hope Tampa Bay wins series in 6 or 7 games. Christopher Cole, NHL trying to help the Panthers get healthy. Nick says, NHL tired of no Canadian teams winning the cup. Sorry, Shooter. Go Lightning, says Carl right there. And Nick says he'll be in bed. Final thoughts here as we wrap up the Evolution.
Thanks, brother. I'm going to Tampa tomorrow night to join Shooter. I want to see the Lightning game 1 against the Panthers. Go back to the history of this team, and that's what this is all about. The history between us and the Panthers, between the Bucks and the whatever. The Rays, and as we're going out now on the West Coast there, and we're going out to play starting tomorrow night versus, playing this West Coast series and coming back here. It's just Tampa Bay sports. And
it is Tampa Bay sports, my friend. We appreciate the time. We'll see you on Wednesday night. All right.
Always, brother.
All right. Good stuff there. So we'll wrap it up right there. Thanks a lot to all the guests of the night. Mr. L. Bushman, of course, Shooter of We the Thunder, L. Bushman of the Rays Rewind podcast. Thanks a lot for sticking with me here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Like and follow the Sports Web on YouTube. Friend me on Facebook at Peter H. Blake, and do 3 things as we'll keep it down. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And for fans of the Sports Web and the Tampa Bay sports fan, it's your time. We'll see you next time on Wednesday night, only one night before the draft, the NFL draft, on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. As always, go Bucks.